In a quiet neighborhood of Highwood Hills, Colorado, a story of family betrayal that shocked the local community remains shrouded in mystery. Our investigative team has spent the past few months reconstructing the events that led to what may be one of the most disturbing cases of asset abuse ever documented. Night falls over Denver as we drive to a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. It is here that we find John Parker, 68, a former mechanic sitting in a chair that does not belong to him, looking through the window at a world he no longer recognizes. "I still can't believe I'm telling this story," Parker whispers, his eyes fixed in the distance. His wrinkled face carries the weight of a lifetime of hard work and unthinkable betrayal. Our investigation begins with a simple question. How did a hard-working man, who had built up a modest but significant wealth over 40 years, end up evicted from his own home and alienated from his family in a matter of weeks? "I would wake up at 5 a.m., come back at 7 p.m., work on Saturdays as well," Parker says, his voice hoarse with emotion. "All this to build a better life for my son Marcus." Parker shows us an old photograph. In it, a family smiles in front of a simple 3-bedroom house in Highwood Hills. Marcus, now 35, his wife Amanda, and Parker's 2 grandchildren, Thomas, 8, and Olivia, 5. The image of family happiness contrasts cruelly with today's reality. "This house wasn't luxurious, but it was mine," Parker says, pointing to the photograph. "In addition, I had 2 plots of land that I bought over the years, one close to the house and the other in an appreciating area near the shopping center. In total, it should be worth about $800,000, maybe more with all that real estate appreciation." Recordings of our interviews with neighbors reveal a consistent pattern. On Sundays, Marcus's family visited religiously. The grandchildren played. In the backyard, Amanda helped with lunch, and Parker watched the scene with the pride of a man who had fulfilled his purpose. "I would look at that scene and think, this is what I lived for. That's why I worked so hard," Parker recalls, his voice breaking. But our investigation found that behind this facade of family harmony, a plan was being meticulously orchestrated. In a series of audio recordings provided by Parker, we can hear the first seeds of manipulation being planted. Marcus's voice is calm, calculating. "Dad, have you ever thought about how all this is going to work when you're no longer here? The IRS will eat it all. It's better to transfer it to my name now to avoid problems." Documents obtained by our team show that these conversations began to intensify approximately 3 months before the formal transfer of the assets, a crucial detail that would only be discovered much later. "At first, I didn't pay much attention," Parker admits. "I was in good health, still feeling strong, so why all this rush?" However, week after week, witnesses confirmed that Marcus returned with the same subject. "Dad, did you see it on TV? So-and-so died, and the family lost everything to the government. You don't want that for your grandchildren, do you?" Amanda, a nurse at the local hospital, also participated in these conversations. "John, my dad went through the same problem," she said, according to reports. "He took a long time to make the transfer, and when he died, our family spent years fighting in court. It was terrible suffering." Our investigation reveals a pivotal moment: the birthday of Olivia, Parker's granddaughter. In the midst of the festivities, security cameras at the residence capture Marcus calling his father for a private conversation in the corner of the backyard. "Dad, I did a lot of research and found a way to make this transfer without you paying almost any taxes, but it has to be now because the law is going to change next year," Marcus says in the recordings, showing printed papers with tables and percentages that, according to experts we consulted, contained deliberately misleading information about inheritance laws. When Parker expresses concern, asking, "But son, if I transfer everything to your name, how will that work?" This house is my whole life here. Marcus's response is quick and reassuring. Father, for God's sake, I am your son. Do you think I would do anything against you? This home remains yours forever. It is only on paper that it will be in my name to protect from taxes. You continue to live here. You continue to own everything. It's just legal protection. Phone records show an intensification of calls between Marcus and a real estate agency in the following weeks, a detail that would go unnoticed until it was too late. I felt selfish, Parker confesses, wiping away a tear. There was my son, worried about the future of the family, wanting to protect the assets I built for them. And why was I resisting? Out of pride, out of silly fear. No dia da transferência, câmeras do cartório mostram Parker vestido com suas melhores roupas, as mesmas que usava para ir à igreja aos domingos. O notário, Sr. Henderson, é visto explicando todo o processo, lendo os documentos em voz alta e fazendo uma pergunta crucial. Sr. Parker, você tem certeza de que quer fazer essa doação? Uma vez assinado, não há como voltar atrás. Eu tenho, senhor. É para meu filho proteger os bens da família, responde Parker, enquanto Marcus permanece ao seu lado, mão no ombro do pai. Pai, você está fazendo a escolha certa, diz Marcus sorrindo. Você verá como em alguns anos você se orgulhará dessa decisão. Em questão de 2 horas, a casa onde Parker viveu por décadas, o terreno ao lado e o valioso lote perto do shopping center, tudo passou para o nome de Marcus Anthony Parker. When we left the registry office, he hugged me tight right there on the street in front of everyone, Parker recalls. Thank you, Dad. You are the best father in the world. Now you can rest easy knowing that everything is protected. The first few weeks after the transfer seem normal. Records from neighborhood security cameras show the family continuing their Sunday visits. But a disturbing pattern begins to emerge in the recordings. Dad, now that everything is organized, I can focus on taking better care of you, Marcus says in a recording. How about we renovate this kitchen, change these old faucets? 2 weeks after the transfer, witnesses report the arrival of an engineer at the property. Dad, this is Nathan, a real estate valuation expert. I came to show him the land to see what kind of construction would be more profitable. The change in Marcus's behavior was subtle initially, but our investigation reveals a defining moment. A Thursday, 2 weeks after the transfer, when Marcus showed up unannounced, something he had never done before. He always called before, always asked if he could come, Parker recalls, but that day he walked right in with a tape measure in his hand and a notebook. Security camera footage shows Marcus measuring not only the kitchen he had mentioned renovating, but every room in the house, taking meticulous notes. Phone records obtained by our team reveal a call from Parker to Marcus that same day. Son, what is this renovation? I thought it was just the kitchen. The answer is revealing. Yes, Dad, but since we're going to mess with it, it's better to do a complete project, right? Add more value to the property. Our investigators found that the following week, 2 men in formal attire were seen photographing the house from the outside. One of them was identified as the engineer Marcus had brought earlier. Phone records show another call from Parker to his son. Son, there are some people here in front photographing the house. Do you know who they are? Oh, Dad, they must be people from the project. I told them to take a look, but wouldn't it be better for them to enter instead of staying like this on the street? It seems that they are evaluating to sell. Dad, stop being paranoid. It's just technical work. The word paranoid rings as an alarm bell in our investigation. It's the first time Marcus has used this tone with his father, a man he has always described as respectful and caring. Psychologist Dr. Laura Westfield, an expert in asset abuse against the elderly, analyzes the recordings for our team. What we see here is a classic pattern of psychological manipulation called gaslighting. The son is making the father question his own perception of reality, calling him paranoid, when in fact his suspicions were completely justified. The following Sunday brings another crucial moment documented by witnesses. The family arrives later than usual, and Amanda is seen preventing the children from playing in the yard, as they always did. "Why can't we play in the backyard today?" asked Thomas in an audio recording. "Today we have to stay only in the living room," Amanda replies in a low tone. Later that same Sunday, cameras capture Marcus calling his father for a private conversation in the kitchen. "Dad," I was thinking, "why don't you think it's time to cut back on visits a bit? We see it every Sunday, but it's getting very hectic in our lives. Maybe it would be better to come every 2 weeks." "But why, son? Aren't you enjoying coming here?" asked Parker, visibly shaken. "That's not it, Dad. It's just that now, with the land projects, I have a lot of extra work. And Amanda also has a few extra shifts at the hospital. But the kids love coming here. Dad, the kids are growing up. They have other activities. It's not good to spoil them too much." The family leaves early that day. Instead of the usual 5 p.m., they leave before 3 p.m. "Bye, Dad. See you next Sunday, or rather the Sunday after the next, right? From now on, it will be every 2 weeks. Our investigation reveals that the next 2 weeks were marked by Parker's unsuccessful attempts to keep in touch with the family. Phone records show several calls to Marcus, most of them short or unanswered. "Raphael, you forgot to call me yesterday," Parker says in a voicemail. "Dad, I'm too busy. These projects are giving me a lot of work. We'll see you on Sunday." The Sunday in question brings another twist documented by neighbors. The family arrives only at 4 p.m. after Parker has prepared a full lunch that has remained untouched. "Dad, we can't stay too long today. We have an appointment at 6 p.m., Marcus says, as he spends most of his time on the phone. Our investigative team makes a crucial discovery while visiting Mr. Manuel's store, where Marcus worked. "Mr. Parker, Marcus left last week. He doesn't work here anymore. When did he give up? Why? And why didn't he tell me that he resigned? He said he would handle some projects on his own, something about building on land. He said that now he had the conditions to be an entrepreneur. Records from the county's Department of Construction show no permit application in Marcus Parker's name for the addresses of the land in question. Another red flag that emerged in our investigation. A recorded call between Parker and Marcus shows the direct confrontation. "Raphael, I went through the land near the mall today. There's a sell sign there." A long silence, and then, "So what?" "What do you mean by so what? Weren't you going to build apartments? Wouldn't you generate income for the family?" "Dad, I changed my mind. It is better to sell and invest the money. It yields more." "But couldn't you have consulted me? Even if it is in your name, I am your father. I deserve to know." "Dad, you're being very annoying. The land is mine. I do what I want with her." Our investigation reveals that the land was being offered for $280,000 in cash, a value that, according to real estate experts consulted, was significantly below the market, indicating a hasty sale. The situation comes to a head when witnesses report the presence of workers at Parker's home, measuring and discussing renovations while he was at the doctor's. Neighbor Mrs. Wilson provided crucial testimony. They were commenting on the demolition of some walls, changing the whole structure. One of them even talked about the transformation into 2 small apartments. A subsequent link between Parker and Marcus is revealing. "Dad, listen here. The house is in my name. If I want to renovate, divide, demolish, or paint pink, that's my problem. You have nothing more to do with it. Son, but I live here. It's my home. My whole life is here. It was your home, Dad. Now it's mine. And I'm thinking about the best use for the property. And me, where do I fit into this? Dad, you're already 68 years old. It's time to think about living in a smaller place, more suitable for your age. This house is too big for one person." Our investigation finds that Marcus had researched nursing homes in the area. a disturbing detail considering Parker's excellent health. With the money from the sale of the land, you can rent a very comfortable small apartment. Or, if you want, you can go to a nursing home. There are some really good ones here in Denver. The escalation of events follows a classic pattern of asset abuse. According to Dr. Westfield, what we see is an initial manipulation through false concern, followed by gaining legal control over the assets, and finally attempting to isolate and remove the victim from their own home. On a Monday morning, Parker wakes up to the sound of an engine in front of the house, two men unloading tools and construction materials. "Excuse me, are you at the right address?" "Yes, sir. Rua Magnolia, 247. We have arrived to start the renovation." "But what renewal? I'm the resident here and I have not authorized any renovation." A call from Marcus clarifies the situation. "Dad, I saw that the contractors arrived there. You need to let them work." "No, Marcus, I said I don't want to renovate my house." "Dad, it's not your home anymore, and they're going to take a look today, see what needs to be done. They're not going to break anything yet." "Yet? What do you mean by still?" "Construction begins next week. You better start getting used to the idea." "I'm not going to accept that, Marcus. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead, Dad. The house is in my name. I have the right to renew. The police can't do anything." The lawyer consulted by Parker, Dr. William Sebastian, confirms the difficult legal reality. "Mr. Parker, I will be frank with you. Legally, it will be very difficult to reverse this donation. You signed everything at the notary's office. You had full mental capacity. There was no apparent coercion. The situation deteriorates rapidly. Workers remove plants from the yard, including a rosebush planted by Parker's late wife, Emily. Voltage increases on a recorded link. You had no right to remove my plants. Dad, it was just some old plants. I'll replant others later." "Others? Don't you understand that these plants had history? That your mother planted some of them?" "Dad, stop the drama. It's just plants." "Marcus, you're destroying your own mother's memory." Amanda's unexpected visit marks another crucial point in our investigation. Alone in Parker's house, her message is clear. "Mr. Parker, no one is kicking anyone out, but you need to understand that Marcus has projects. He has dreams. He wants to grow in life, to give a better future to his children. And am I getting in the way of those dreams?" "Mr. Parker, you are a dear person, but sometimes parents become very dependent on their children. Marcus feels like he needs to take care of you, care about you, and that's limiting him. I never asked him to take care of me, but he feels obligated. And with you living here, he can't handle his projects in peace." Amanda reveals that they had already researched senior living facilities nearby. You'd have company, activities, medical care. Parker's last attempt to speak to his son as a father is documented in a gripping recording. "Raphael, do you remember when you were little and came to talk to me here in this room? When you had problems at school? When you fought with classmates?" "Dad, that was a long time ago. Do you remember what I always told you? That no matter the problem, we would always solve it together. This family does not abandon the family. Direct confrontation reveals the cruel truth. Father, for God's sake, I am your son. Do you think I would do anything against you?" "Raphael, look me in the eye and tell me the truth. Did you trick me into transferring the properties to you?" "Dad, I didn't fool anyone. You wanted to transfer. I accepted. But you knew I would regret it, didn't you?" "Dad, regret is normal. Every change is scary at first." "Change? Raphael, you're trying to get me out of my house. This is not change, it's eviction." The following week marks the most traumatic moment. Workers arrive daily, making more noise, moving more things. On Monday, they remove all the furniture from the room without warning. On Tuesday, they begin to break down the wall between the living room and the kitchen. On Wednesday, they turn off the water. On Thursday, electricity. I was sleeping in my room in the noise and dust, without adequate water, eating takeout food because I couldn't cook, Parker recalls. It was planned torture. On Friday, Marcus shows up with a van and 2 men. "Dad, I've come to get your things." "Take them where?" "To the apartment I rented to you. It's small, but comfortable. I don't want any apartments. I want to stay in my house." "Father, look at the state of this house. You can't stay here during construction. It's dangerous, unhealthy." "Then stop the construction." "I can't stop. Dad, I've already hired everyone. I've already paid advances. If I stop now, I'm going to lose money. And me? What will I lose?" "Dad, you won't miss anything. It is only temporary until construction is completed." "Temporary. And after construction?" "Then, let's talk." Parker is forced to choose what to take with him for a lifetime. "Everything I've built in 68 years of life fit in 3 cardboard boxes," he says, showing photographs of the small apartment where he was housed. "Okay, Dad, you'll be right here. The refrigerator is working. There are new sheets." "For how long?" "As long as it is necessary." "How much time does it take, Marcus?" "About 3-4 months, depending on how the construction goes." "And are you going to pay the rent?" "Of course, Dad, for as long as it takes." "What if I don't want to stay here?" "Dad, you have no choice now. The house is uninhabitable. Our investigation makes a shocking discovery when Parker tries to visit his old home the following Saturday. A new padlocked gate prevents him from entering. A call to Marcus reveals, "Why is there a new gate in the house?" "Security, Dad. With construction, I can't leave it open, but I want to pick up some things that I forgot." "What got? What? Things?" "Some photos, some of his mother's objects." "Dad, during construction, you can't touch anything. Once you're done, you can get them." Mrs. Wilson, a neighbor, provides crucial information. "Mr. Parker, I didn't want to intrude, but I'm worried. There is no construction. The workers left last Monday and did not return. The house is abandoned, all messed up, but there's no one working there." "Are you sure?" "I do. And there's more. Yesterday I saw Marcus there with a real estate agent. They were showing the house to a couple." "Showing to sell?" "From what I understood from the conversation, yes. I heard the broker talking about price, documentation, these things. The final discovery is devastating. This morning a moving truck drove by. They took all his furniture that was stored in the garage." "Where did they take it?" "I don't know, but I heard one of the porters saying he was going to a donation depot." The final confrontation with Marcus confirms the worst suspicions. "Marcus, I want to know when the construction will continue." "Dad, there were some problems with materials. It will take a few more days." "What problems?" "Technical problems." "Dad, you wouldn't understand. Marcus, I want to see the house." "You can't, Dad. It's dangerous." "Dangerous? There's no one working there." A revealing silence. "Who told you that?" "I went there and saw it. And I also found out that you were showing the house to buyers." "Dad, who's making these things up?" "It's not made up, Marcus. It's true. You're selling my house." "Dad, even if I am, the house is mine. I can do whatever I want, even though I am." He didn't even deny it anymore. "Marcus, you promised that the house would remain mine." "Dad, I promised many things. Things have changed. And my furniture. Where is my furniture?" "What furniture?" "My furniture. His mother's things that were stored." "Oh, that. I donated everything. It was taking up space." "Did you donate? Without asking me?" "Dad, they were old, worthless things. Better to give it to those who need it." "Worthless? Were your mother's things worthless?" "Dad, my mother is dead. Keeping old stuff won't bring it back." The twist in our investigation comes when Parker consults another attorney, Dr. Michael Carlos, who identifies a legal strategy. "Mr. Parker, we're going to work on 3 fronts. First, an action to annul the donation due to defect of consent and bad faith. Second, an action for compensation for moral damages. Third, criminal representation for embezzlement and fraud. Mrs. Wilson agrees to testify, as do other neighbors. But the biggest surprise comes from the notary, Mr. Henderson. On that day of the signing, I found your son's haste strange. He kept rushing you, saying they had other commitments. I even wrote it down in my book of observations. And more. Before the signing, I heard him on his cell phone talking to someone about selling land. An injunction prevents Marcus from selling the property until the final judgment of the case, prompting a furious call. Dad, what madness is this? What is this process? It's the truth coming out, Marcus. Dad, have you gone crazy? Are you suing your own son? I'm suing a con artist who pretended to be my son to rob me. Dad, I didn't steal anything. You gave it to me. I gave based on your lies. This is called fraud. Marcus offers a deal, proposing to return the house and one of the plots of land, keeping the other as compensation for investments. Parker refuses. The final twist comes with Amanda's unexpected visit, crying in Parker's apartment. Mr. Parker, I have come to apologize. Apologies. I encouraged Marcus to do this with you. The idea of asking you to transfer the assets was mine. Why, Amanda? Because we were in debt, Mr. Parker. Heavily indebted. Marcus lost money in online gambling. We owed on credit cards. We were desperate. Games was Marcus playing? It was. And he lost a lot of money. When he discovered the value of his land, we thought it was the solution. And do you think I'd deny you help if I knew you guys were in trouble? We were afraid you'd get mad. And also what? We also thought it would be easier that way, that you wouldn't even miss, that you would understand. Understand that you lied to me. Mr. Parker, everything was wrong. I know. And now everything is even worse. How worse? Marcus used the money he got by selling the first land to play again. He thought he would recover everything and there would still be left. He lost even more. My God, it wasn't just greed. It was a gambling addiction. My son was sick and I didn't even know it. Amanda provides crucial evidence, screenshots of Marcus's cell phone, bank statements documenting losses of more than $150,000 in online games, almost the total value of the land sold. Dr. Carlos's investigation finds that Marcus had consulted the sale values of the land 3 months before the transfer, exactly when he started talking about taxes and inheritance. At the conciliation hearing, Marcus looks haggard, thin, with dark circles under his eyes, rumpled clothes. Their final offer, full return of the house and the 2 plots of land, plus $50,000 in compensation for moral damages. I accept the return of the goods, says Parker. But I want one more thing. I want him to get treatment for gambling addiction, and I want him to stay away from me for good. Dad, cries Marcus, for God's sake, don't do that. Why not? You did this to me. Dad, I was sick. I didn't know what I was doing. You knew. When you lied about taxes, you knew. When you kicked me out of the house, you knew. When you sold your mother's things, you knew. Father, forgive me. I promise I will change. Marcus, you promised that the house would remain mine. You promised. It was only to protect from taxes. Your promises are worthless. The agreement is approved. Parker would recover all his assets within 30 days. Marcus would have to step away and undergo treatment. Mr. Parker, you were brave, says Dr. Carlos. Not every parent would have the courage to go all the way like that. Doctor, from the moment he betrayed me, he stopped being my son. He was just a criminal who happened to have my blood. Today, John Parker is back at his home, slowly rebuilding what was destroyed. The walls were repaired, new furniture acquired, and the garden replanted, including a new rose bush in place of the one Emily had grown. It's not the same plants, it's not the same furniture, Parker says, looking at the reconstructed backyard. The memories that were lost will not come back, but at least I regained my dignity. Our investigation ends with an unsettling reflection. How many other John Parkers are out there? How many elderly people are silently being manipulated by those in whom they most trust? Our investigation ends with an unsettling reflection. How many other John Parkers are out there? How many elderly people are silently being manipulated by those they trust the most? The worst kind of betrayal comes from those who promised to protect us, Parker reflects, sitting on the reconstructed porch of his home. Those Sundays that I thought were moments of love were just a staging. The evidence gathered during our investigation reveals a disturbing pattern that experts call strategic isolation, a common tactic in cases of asset abuse against the elderly. First, Marcus reduced the frequency of visits from weekly to bi-weekly. Then he shortened the duration of the visits. Finally, he stopped them completely after achieving the transfer of the goods. It was like being gradually erased from your own family, Parker says, examining old photographs he was able to recover. First, you are expendable, then inconvenient, and finally a hindrance. Phone records obtained with court authorization show that in the days leading up to the transfer of assets, Marcus and Amanda exchanged dozens of messages with real estate brokers. In one of them, Marcus writes, "We need to close this fast before he changes his mind." Financial experts who analyzed Marcus's accounts for our investigation confirm what Amanda revealed. Regular deposits on online betting sites, starting with small amounts and scaling to significant amounts in the months before the transfer. Gaming addiction was the catalyst, but it doesn't explain everything, Dr. Westfield said. Many people with financial problems seek legitimate solutions. What we see here is a toxic combination of opportunism, disrespect, and dehumanization of the elderly. A crucial element emerges as we interview employees at the online casino where Marcus gambled. He had applied for a loan using properties he would soon inherit as collateral. Months before he started pressuring his father to transfer, he was relying on my assets before he even started the manipulation, says Parker, visibly shaken when he sees the documents. All that talk about asset protection was just the narrative he created to convince me. Elder protection experts we consulted indicate that Parker's case illustrates a troubling trend. What makes these cases particularly devastating is that they are often perpetrated by trusted people, children, grandchildren, caregivers, who know precisely the emotional buttons to push, explains Gregory Mendez, director of the Colorado Coalition Against Property Abuse. Our team found that after selling the first plot of land, Marcus not only continued gambling, but also made plans for a luxury trip with the family, without Parker using some of the proceeds. Bookings at high-end resorts were found in his browsing history, along with searches on how to convince Dad to go to nursing home and involuntary hospitalization of the elderly. He wasn't just taking me out of the house. He was trying to completely remove me from the map, Parker concludes, holding documents from long-term care institutions that were found on Marcus's computer. Elders' rights lawyer Dr. Rebecca Torres, who reviewed the case for our report, identifies several warning signs that went unnoticed. The insistence on a quick transfer with no time to consult with independent experts, the use of emotional language to generate guilt, the manipulation of grandchildren as tools of persuasion, and crucially, the immediate change in behavior after the transfer is completed. Recordings recovered from Parker's cell phone show the cruel transformation in Marcus's language. From "Dad, you're the best father in the world," on the day of the transfer, to "Dad, you're being too annoying," just a few weeks later. One particularly disturbing aspect of our investigation is the role Amanda played. As a nurse, she used her professional knowledge to lend credence to false concerns about Parker's ability to live alone. Amanda knew exactly how to make Parker look confused to the neighbors, notes Dr. Torres, by spreading the idea that he was a little confused by the move and sometimes he can come here and get lost. She was planting seeds of doubt about his mental capacity, a classic tactic in asset abuse cases. Perhaps the most shocking aspect is the deliberate disregard for the memory of Emily, Parker's late wife and Marcus's mother. By giving away Emily's belongings without consultation and destroying plants she had grown, Marcus attacked not only Parker's material possessions, but also his emotional assets. "Dad, my mother is dead. Storing junk won't bring it back," Marcus said in one of the most disturbing recordings we reviewed. When someone attacks the memory of a deceased loved one, it's a clear sign that they've completely lost respect for the person, explains Dr. Westfield. It is a form of psychological violence designed to break the emotional connections that give meaning to the victim's life. Our investigation reveals a methodically executed pattern of manipulation, isolation, and displacement, a strategy that experts call phantom eviction. The victim is not technically evicted through legal channels, but is made impossible for him or her to remain in the property through psychological pressure tactics. They turned off the water and electricity, removed the furniture, created constant noise, all to make my life impossible, Parker recalls. When you want someone to leave a place, you don't need physical violence. Just make life impossible, and the person will want to go out on their own. One particularly revealing document recovered from Marcus's computer details a timeline of actions for parent transition, including steps such as Phase 1, reduce visits, Phase 2, initiate renewals, Phase 3, temporary relocation, and Phase 4, complete sale of assets. It wasn't an improvised plan, notes Dr. Carlos, Parker's lawyer. It was a calculated strategy to strip a man of everything he had built in life. The ensuing court case established important jurisprudence in Colorado. Judge Kenneth Harmon, in ruling in Parker's favor, wrote, "This court recognizes that trust fraud, especially when perpetrated against the elderly by members of their own family, represents a particularly insidious form of abuse that deserves robust legal remedies." Today, Parker dedicates part of his time to lecturing groups of seniors about the risks of hasty asset transfers. Never transfer assets when you are still in good health and lucid, he advises. While you are alive and healthy, keep control of what is yours. The inheritance is for after the person dies, not while he is alive to see the circus burn. The court sentence ordered Marcus to return all assets to Parker, pay $75,000 in moral damages, and undergo mandatory treatment for gambling addiction. Amanda received a professional warning from the Board of Nursing for her role in the manipulation. As for the children, Thomas and Olivia, they remain in a situation of limbo, legally forbidden to visit their grandfather due to the restraining order against their parents, but innocent in the scheme. "The hardest part was losing my grandchildren," Parker confesses, showing us drawings the children had made for him years ago. They are the real victims in this story. They will grow up not understanding why they can no longer visit Grandpa. Family. Law experts consulted by our team suggest that with time and with proper advice, some kind of supervised visits could be possible. Children shouldn't have to pay for their parents' mistakes, says Dr. Jennifer Mosley, a psychologist who specializes in intergenerational relationships. But it is critical that any rapprochement takes place in a safe environment, both physically and emotionally. 6 months after the court ruling, our team returns to Parker's home for a final update. We meet a transformed man, still scarred by experience, but determined to rebuild his life. I'm not going to say that there aren't days when I wake up and wonder where I went wrong as a parent, he admits, walking through the restored garden where new plants begin to bloom. But there are also days when I understand that this was not my fault. Some people make choices that we can't predict or prevent. In the backyard, a small sign marks the place where Emily's rosebush once bloomed. Next to it, a new seedling grows. Different, but alive. It's not the same rose, Parker says, gently touching the green shoots, but it's a rose nonetheless. Things never go back exactly as they were, but that doesn't mean they can't flourish again. As we leave the property, one last question remains. What happened to Marcus and Amanda after the court case concluded? Public records indicate that they moved to a neighboring state where Marcus works a low-paying job. Amanda lost her nursing license after a broader investigation by the state board. I don't wish them harm, Parker reflects, looking at an old family photo he managed to recover. I just hope that they find help and that the children grow up understanding that what their parents did was not right. Our investigation concludes with a grim warning. For every case like John Parker's that reaches the courts and the media, experts estimate that dozens remain in the shadows, elderly people quietly stripped of their possessions and dignity by those who are supposed to protect them. There are warning signs that we should all be aware of, emphasizes Gregory Mendez. Sudden isolation, unexpected changes in wills or estates, rushed transfers, constant conversations about taxes or legal issues. These can be indicators of ongoing financial manipulation. Before we leave, Parker hands us a small book he has begun to write, a diary of his experience that he hopes to turn into a guide for other seniors. It's not just about protecting your money or your home, he says. It's about protecting your dignity and your right to age without fear. No one should have to choose between loving their children and protecting themselves. The last words written in her diary resonate as a powerful reminder to everyone. Sometimes love is not enough. Sometimes we need clear boundaries, signed documents, and the courage to say no, even to those we love most. As night falls over Highwood Hills, the lights in Parker's house remain on, a symbol of resistance against those who have tried to turn them off permanently. This is a story with no traditional happy ending, but with a vital message. Dignity can be regained, even from the ashes of family betrayal.